Hey, Christian therapist, are you craving a counseling career that aligns with your faith and actually supports your well being? Welcome to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I'm Kimberly Van Hooser, Christian therapist, private practice owner, and business coach for mental health professionals like you. In this podcast, you'll get practical strategies and faith led guidance to help you build a thriving private practice, one that serves your clients well and makes an impact for the kingdom of God. So, what are you waiting for? Grab your notebook and join me for today's episode. Welcome to the Prosperous Christian Therapist Podcast. I'm Kimberly Van Hooser, your host. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, a business coach for mental health professionals, and the owner of a Christian private practice. In today's episode, we will be talking about how to get your first client and to start building a referral network. If you are considering starting a private practice, or perhaps you've already started one and you're just looking to start having a really solid foundation for referrals and to increase your caseload, then this will be a very helpful podcast for you. I'll just be giving you some tips and strategies and just some direction to go in as you're building up your caseload. First of all, since we are believers, I think it's always important to constantly be drawing our attention back to God. It is such a benefit to us to be able to pray and ask for wisdom and strategy as we start our networking, as we start reaching out for clients. Even prayers like, God, please bring my information in front of the right clients at the right time. And can you increase my connections? Can you help me know which professionals to reach out to? So, whether or not you are marketing yourself as a Christian therapist who offers Christian counseling, or if you are marketing more to the secular world, we still have that responsibility as believers to be doing things that are Christ led and faith led. So, intentionally inviting God into every single thing that we do, even if we won't be speaking his name directly to clients all the time in our sessions. So, take some time before you dive into networking and as you're doing the networking, just to be surrendering your practice to the Lord in prayer and trusting that he will bring the right connections. Another thing that I think is super important as you're beginning this process is to know your ideal client and who that is and how you can describe that to other professionals so they know who to send to you. And also how to put it into language so your ideal client can know that, yes, this is the therapist for me. Knowing the type of client that you work with will be very helpful in terms of gathering referrals because, for one, it makes you stand out. And also, when you know the type of client that you enjoy working with, you'll be more strategic in knowing the types of professionals that you should start building connections with, as well as the types of places where your ideal client might be hanging out and might come into contact with your information. I know a lot of beginning therapists seem to get a little nervous about the idea of developing a niche. And for one, that makes a lot of sense because you might not know exactly the type of client you really enjoy working with. And a lot of times people are afraid that having a niche is going to pigeonhole them into something that they find out they don't enjoy in the long run. The other fear I hear is that it will actually prevent them from getting enough clients because if people are needing therapy and it's outside of what you describe as your niche, but perhaps it's still a client that you would like to work with and that you would like to have on your caseload right now, sometimes there's some worry that it's going to actually prevent you from filling your caseload. And I just want to give you permission right now to know you will not be stuck in your niche forever. You have permission to change your niche and to morph it and to grow it into something different. You also have permission to take on clients who do not fit your niche as long as you have the skills to treat them. It's not outside of your scope of practice. Having a niche will really help you in terms of connecting with your ideal client and standing out in the minds of the people that you contact for referrals. I can't tell you the number of posts I have seen in Facebook groups of new therapists who post something like, here's my Psychology Today profile. I work with anyone experiencing, and they list like 50 different specialties or areas of struggle that their client might be having. And I never refer to those people, to be honest, because it doesn't really stand out in my mind. However, if I come into contact with a therapist who says something more specific, like I enjoy working with moms who are postpartum, that stands out a little bit more. The next time I have a mom call me and they're dealing with postpartum depression, I'm going to remember this. I'm more likely to remember this person, especially if there's been any sort of personal connection. If this clinician has reached out to me, we've developed some sort of rapport. Of course, I'm going to refer to that person. It's also really important as you're starting your private practice to have the basics, such as where and how your clients are going to contact you. So have a phone number that they can reach you on and an email address at the bare minimum. It's okay if you don't have a website up and running just yet. I definitely encourage that you build a website pretty quickly if possible. But as you're starting your practice, as long as you know they can call me at this phone number, they can email me here. That is a great start. I'd also encourage you to get some business cards. Even if your information might change a little bit later, business cards are pretty inexpensive. And then you're able to provide people with the ability to contact you if you happen to run into them in the community. You'd be surprised about the number of times that I have been asked for my card. So I just keep my cards with me all the time if possible, because it can just be the most random place where people find out that you're a therapist and they say, "Oh my goodness, I need your card because I know someone who really needs some help." So always be prepared with a way for your clients to contact you. The other thing you need to have in place is knowing when and where you're going to see your clients. So it's okay if you're starting out virtual. That's a very easy way to do it. Maybe you'll be primarily virtual without any in-person space, but know when and how you'll see your clients. So when you get that referral call, you can say, "Hey, I have Tuesday open and this is the way that I do things. Does this work for you?" I would encourage you as well to get some sort of physical office location. It doesn't have to be where you will be seeing clients all the time, but even if you do like a virtual mailbox where you can have a physical address listed on Google, that will be helpful in driving traffic to your website and with your findability. So even if I was fully virtual, I see clients 1 day a week in person. But if I was choosing to be fully virtual, I would make sure that I have like a virtual mailbox somewhere at a physical office location, because then I can list my practice in Colorado where I work, and people who Google therapist in Aurora would find me. So that is definitely something to think about and consider. But as you're just getting started, it is okay if you just have a virtual practice. So once you've thought about the type of client you want to see, you know that you have contact information where they can reach out to you, you have your business cards, then it's time to start thinking about who are you going to reach out to and start building connections with in order to get your first clients. This is where thinking about where your ideal client would be spending time, what they do in their day to day, and who this person is going to be super helpful. So, I'm not going to get super niche specific in this podcast about really deep diving into who your person is, what they might encounter in order to find the best referral sources for you. I'm going to go over some more basic ones, and then I'm sure in future I will do some more training on niche development. But just in general, as you are starting out as a private practitioner, I think the best source for referrals and to lay a foundation for incoming referrals, where you're not going to be having to do tons of upkeep and work and continued marketing in those areas, is by building personal connections with other professionals. Other professionals could include other therapists, it could include psychiatrists or psychiatric nurse practitioners, medical doctors. I get a lot of my referrals from pastors of churches and then the school system as well. So start thinking about your ideal client. So whether or not you market as a Christian therapist or you're just a Christian who's also a therapist, I think it's a really great avenue to start pursuing the churches in your community and building connections with the pastors there, because pastors want to refer to other Christian therapists a lot of times. They might refer to secular, but a lot of times people, if they're seeking care through their church, it's important to them to have a therapist who has a Christian lens and worldview. And for a pastor, even if they know that you don't do primarily Christian work, a lot of times they might feel better knowing that whoever they're sending members of their congregation to is going to be going to someone who also shares the same values and belief system. So I would definitely encourage you to consider reaching out to some pastors and churches in your community as part of your professionals that you contact. It's also good to look at doctors' offices. Sometimes that can be hard to build a really strong personal connection with doctors because they're super busy, but there are some strategies and ways to do that. And if we don't get to it in this podcast, I'll definitely share about it in an upcoming podcast. Connecting with school counselors and teachers is another great source for referrals. And then, as I mentioned, other therapists. So I remember when I was in grad school, sometimes they would tell you, don't network with other therapists who share your niche because then you're just competing for clients. I like to have an abundant mindset where I think there's enough people, enough referrals to go around. There's enough people who need therapy. I'm not going to see my fellow clinician as competition, but another resource. Because honestly, I'm unique in what I bring to the therapy world, and we all are. So we have to think about how do we share. And what I love about networking with other therapists who are in similar fields as I am, maybe they work with the same type of client as I do. They already have established networks. So if they're getting referrals, maybe their caseload is too full. Maybe their schedule does not work with what the schedule of the client who's seeking a referral for a therapist is looking for. Perhaps their fee is slightly different from mine, especially for those of you who are starting out. Maybe this is a more established clinician who charges a higher rate than you might as an entry clinician. So if they have someone who contacts them and is like, hey, I don't want to pay that much for therapy, they can refer to you if you have a lower fee because maybe you're not licensed yet or you're just starting out. That is a great connection. So I definitely want to encourage you reach out to other therapists who have, if not similar niche, like an overlapping niche for you. So overlapping might mean, like for me, I don't work with a ton of couples. So me connecting with a couples therapist could be a great source for referrals because if they are working with their couples and they know, man, these clients need some individual therapy, then they already know a Christian clinician who does great work with women with anxiety, and they'll refer to me. So, reaching out to other therapists, I also think psychiatrists are great to build connections with. I have a couple of psychiatric nurse practitioners that are amazing that are able to prescribe medication. Because a lot of times I will have clients who might be seeking a referral for medication or in need of some medication. Then I have trusted individuals that I can refer to. And they will also send people to me. So that's the great thing too. Make sure you're referring, like be willing to refer to these people as well, because if they get a referral from you, that will just make you stand out that much more. So, as I'm talking about making personal connections with other professionals, you might be wondering exactly how to go about doing that. So, I'll give you an example. So, for me, primarily, whenever I have moved to a different location, I generally will start with other therapists or pastors and churches in the area. So, regarding churches, usually what I'll do is I'll do a Google search, find a church website. Sometimes think about like, is this a church that looks like it would align with my practice? I check and see if it looks like they're mental health friendly. That's always great if they have any sort of pastoral care or care teams. Sometimes they even have mental health ministries. And I'll look up who is in charge of the mental health ministry or the pastoral care team if that's an option. Then I will send an email that just says something like, hi, I'm a local Christian therapist, and I am interested in learning more about the churches in the community and how I can be a resource and what your needs are. Would you be willing to meet me for 15 minutes over Zoom, or maybe I can come in person sometime and bring you some coffee? I'll usually try to extend an invitation to meet up in person, but I'll also offer the ability to meet or connect over a Zoom call too. And that's just out of respect for time. Sometimes people are much more likely to jump on a video call rather than finding some time to go meet at a coffee shop. And either way is great. I think having the face to face is much better than just like a cold email, like, hey, please send clients my way without them ever having connected with you. And a lot of times you don't get a response back. So sometimes I will send a follow up, hey, just reaching out, checking in. If I don't get response via email, then sometimes I will call the church and see if a secretary answers and make sure I'm getting passed to the right person. But a lot of times I'll just do kind of like a mass take a day where I just send out a ton of emails, see what I get back, and then start to build in those times in my schedule where I am meeting over Zoom or in person with different people from around the community. So that's what you would do with churches, kind of similar with any other therapist, medical doctor, school, reaching out, trying to get in contact with the person who might be the one who's in closest contact with your ideal client. So at the school, maybe the school counseling department. For other therapists, sometimes you can find them in other Facebook groups. Oh, that's the next thing I'm going to talk about. Facebook groups can also be a great way to get referrals. So there's two different types of Facebook groups that I found super helpful. One is like referral networking or Facebook groups that are specific to mental health professionals in your area. So I would look up Facebook groups in your area that might fit your niche, or like there's always like Denver therapists, therapists of the Denver and surrounding areas, Christian therapists of Denver, things like that, where I've been a part of that because that's usually full of other therapists. They're constantly posting in search of therapists for this type of client. And then you can start posting. If it meets your criteria, you can post and respond to those referral requests. And if nothing else, sometimes I'm like, is this worth it? Because there's like 50 different people have already commented and shared their information on there. So I don't always comment on those. But if anything else, I figure if I post my website and someone looks at it, it's driving more traffic to your website. And that actually helps you rank higher on Google. So, Facebook groups that are full of other professionals and therapists like yourself is a great way to be a part of the community, to connect with other professionals, and to get referrals. And then also thinking about Facebook groups where your ideal client might be hanging out. So for example, I'm in some like Christian women Facebook groups, and sometimes you'll have people posting in there, "Hey, I'm looking for a good therapist. Does anyone know anyone who's Christian, or works with anxiety, or works with this?" And so then you can also post in that area too. I always offer a complimentary 15-minute phone consultation to potential referrals. So if you have someone in a Facebook group that's looking for a therapist for themselves, I always respond with, "Hey, like, here's my website. Contact me for your complimentary consultation and we can chat about what your needs are and see if I'm a good fit." Something like that, because that's encouraging them to reach out, to connect. If you just post, like, "Here's my website," they might not take it a step farther. So try to make it a little bit more personal. If you are making posts in Facebook groups, make sure that you pay attention to what the rules are regarding self promotion or any marketing, because you could get yourself kicked out or your post shut down if it's not within the guidelines of what the group leaders have determined. Some groups will allow like special marketing posts once a week, and just know what those are. Otherwise, Facebook groups are a great place to kind of hang out. And if you see any posts where they're looking for your services, that's when you can comment, "Hey, like, I offer that. Contact me. I'd love to chat with you." If you are making it just a general post or an introduction post in a Facebook group for mental health professionals, make sure that you offer and allow them to reach out and connect with you for a Zoom meeting or a coffee date if they want to connect. Kind of similar to if you have someone, if you're trying to connect with the actual someone who would be your actual client, that's where you offer the complimentary phone consultation. But if you're trying to connect with other professionals, just offer a touch point where they can reach out and say, "Hey, like, I saw your post. I would love to grab coffee sometime." Then you're starting to build those in-person connections. Besides getting started with building personal connections with your networking, it is important to start building your web presence. This doesn't mean you have to have a beautiful professional website before you launch your private practice, but I would encourage doing that pretty soon. For one, it really does increase your credibility. I know for myself, if I am looking for a certain service and I usually start with Google, and if they don't have a website attached to it, then I'm less likely to book with them. If I see that they have a website, then I can go kind of learn more about who they are, what it is that they offer, and if it's really going to suit me better. So I think that's true with therapy clients as well too. They're looking for someone who is professional. On your website, you can add pictures, you can put copy on there that really is going to speak to your ideal client so they know before they call you for that initial consultation, this looks like someone I can work with. So that's really important to start doing. I know I also mentioned it can be super useful to have a physical address location. So, regardless of if you're going to do in person therapy or start off with virtual, you can usually find a place to rent a virtual mailbox. A lot of times, like a co working office share type place might offer a mailbox option only for relatively affordable every month. And then you can place that on your website as a physical location. And then you can also create a Google Maps page. So when people will Google search therapists in their area, you're able to show up. So that will start to drive a lot of traffic to you and to your website and boost your findability on Google. Another place you can start looking for referrals is by using online directories. And I would just take that with a grain of salt because most online directories will charge some sort of fee. There are some free ones that you can get plugged into, but be wary of spam. If you have someone reaching out to you and saying, hey, like my son needs a minimum of 32 therapy sessions and I want to send you a check for the complete amount up front, that's a scam. You can still get scammed through paid directory sites, I'm sure, but I feel like it's less common. So I would think about or consider directory sites that might be more specific to your niche can be really beneficial. Or if you are comfortable offering Christian therapy, then to make sure you get listed on some Christian counseling directories as well. Focus on the Family is a really good one to reach out to. They have the Christian Counselor Network. They do charge an annual fee for that, but it is generally worth it. And if you think about with a lot of online directories, if you get one paying client, then generally speaking, that will cover the cost of the directory for at least a year. So think about that. And that is something to look into, but it should not be your only way of trying to get clients. Another way to start getting your name out there in the hopes for referrals is just letting everyone that you know that you are starting a private practice, the type of client you're working with, and that you're ready to take on new clients. So let your family members know, let your friends know, let your acquaintances know. Even if you cannot see those people in your practice because of conflict of interest, they know people who don't know you that they can refer to you. I think it's important to mention that having patience and a long-term mindset is going to be really important as you're starting your private practice and as you're starting to build your referral network. Because I know a lot of times we're so excited to get started. We have the time or the desire to see lots of clients, and they don't always come in overnight. But trusting every single connection you make is planting a seed. And with time, that seed will grow and it will produce a crop. That's a theme I've noticed in my own private practice over the past several years. And just trusting also that God knows, He knows every single client you're going to work with between now and the day you die or the day you close your private practice. And He has a plan to get them connected with you. So if you are being faithful and listening to Him, pursuing His heart in the work that you do as a therapist, then you can trust that He's going to send the clients at the right time. And just to give you encouragement, if it seems like it's slow up front, when I first started my private practice, I think I had one client come to me for 2 sessions after like the first month. And then she ended up quitting or taking a pause. And then I think I went 2 or 3 months without any clients. And I was working in a college mental health, so I had a job, but I wasn't getting any phone calls, and it was very discouraging at first. And I was like, why do I even have my doors open? Maybe I should just stop and just stay with my full-time job for now. But something in me just knew that I was supposed to keep the doors open. And then after a few months, all of a sudden, phone calls started coming in. I just want to encourage you, trust that God has a plan for you. He has a plan for your practice and for your business. All you can do is build and have your doors open and do the steps to encourage those opportunities and connection, and then just trust that they're going to come at the right time. I hope this podcast was encouraging for you. I hope it gave you some direction in where to get started and how to build your caseload. If you would like to leave me a written review, that will help other people like you find this podcast and also hopefully gain some helpful information. And also head on over to Facebook and join my free Facebook group, The Prosperous Christian Therapist. I'll be posting all sorts of resources in there in the near future and keep you posted about any new developments I might have in new podcast episodes. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I look forward to have you with me again in the future. If you found value in today's episode, would you take a moment to leave a written review on Apple Podcasts? It helps more faith-led therapists like you find the show. And don't forget to join my free Facebook group, The Prosperous Christian Therapist, where you can connect with myself and other fellow clinicians for encouragement, tips, and support. See you there.